Michaela, I am going to ask you to get us started with our panel, and I'll slowly get through each of the names to spotlight y'all so you're all visible to everyone. And thank you to the students for being here. Thank you, Michaela, our other student member at large who you met earlier. Michaela, take it away.
Alrighty, so we've got 4 people for our panel today. First person up, Taylor Davis. They were inducted into ALD in 2021 at North Carolina A&T State University. She is a chemical engineering major, and she's the past president for NCAT's ALD chapter. Next up, we've got Ashley Eubanks, who was inducted into ALD in 2020 at Northwestern State University in Louisiana. She is a liberal arts major with a specialization in scientific inquiry. She's currently a junior advisor and a former historian for NSU's ALD chapter. There's also Carter Mayhan, who was inducted into ALD in 2021 at Purdue University in Indiana. He is a mechanical engineering major and is currently a junior advisor and a former vice president for Purdue's ALD chapter. And finally, we've got Emma Shreiner, who was inducted into ALD in 2021 at Elizabethtown College in Pennsylvania. She is an occupational therapy major, and she is the past president for E-Town's ALD chapter.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks, Michaela. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome. So we did just have you introduced, so we don't need to do that too much, but feel free to say anything more you'd like about your chapter, your position, past or present, with your chapter. But I'll just start with questions. If anyone has questions that they'd like to ask, please feel free to put them in chat. We're just going to get things started to get the conversation going. What is the most important thing to you as an ALD officer? Like what would you like all the other officers here to know or remember? Like what's sort of the top thing to remember, I guess, as an ALD member? So I'll mix it up a little. I might not ask the same question of everyone because we might get repetitive. I don't know. But Taylor, if you're okay to start with that one, is that all right? And start with you.
Yes, I can start. So the most important thing for me was making sure that my members or that our members felt a sense of community. I feel like A&T is very centered around community. And then at the time, being the class of 2024 and coming in through the pandemic, our class as a whole was focused on kind of having the best experience possible. So I wanted to take that to our chapter as well, since all of our active members at the time were sophomores and in class of 2024. So when it came to planning programs and doing community service, I just wanted to make sure that everyone felt like they had a friend, like the executive board they could come to us and that they could always like kind of rely on ALD as being a safe space, even though it's an honor society as well.
Great. Carter, I saw you nodding your head a little bit, so I'm going to call on you.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with a lot of what Taylor said there. Along with that community, I think a really great way that you can help build that community is through like really clear communication with both your officers, your advisors, and your general members that you have too. So just communicating, the clear things about what events are, what expectations are, having that back and forth between members, having them feel comfortable to come to you and communicate with what they want, and then also being able to provide for them and explain different situations and things like that. So just making sure that you're communicating, that you're open with everyone, that you're honest with what you're doing, setting goals, everything like that, I think is really important to remember when you're an officer.
Great. Yeah, it's really great. I am just going to open it up because we're just getting started anyway. Anything anyone wants to add that hasn't been said? Ashley or Emma? All good? Okay.
I think I would also like to add that for me, the most important thing to remember was just like the focus is on the general members. And so I want to make sure like they were known, heard, and seen. So just making sure to spend some time talking to different people at different meetings. So each person just feels like they were known or seen by a different officer.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, good. What is your greatest memory so far about being involved, a student leader, whether it's an officer or whatever position, so far about being an ALD officer or leader, your greatest memory? Emma, you want to start with that one?
I will start with that one because my favorite memory has to be from last year when during our fall semester, right before I knew our president was going to transfer, and I had the opportunity to organize a like virtual bingo fundraiser that we could donate all of the money back to Hershey Children's Hospital, which holds a very special place in my heart. It was really cool to use my platform through ALD to be able to make that happen.
That's great. Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. How about Ashley? Anything there?
So as a former historian and now junior advisor, my favorite memory has to be the scrapbook. Every time of year that it comes around to time to submit it, I just get super excited for other people to just see all the hard work we've put in this year, and just all the pictures that come in from students. Just really shows how much we've done, when at first I don't think we're doing that much.
Since this is a unique question to each of you, I am going to ask each of you this one. So Carter, Taylor, who wants to go first or next? Taylor.
Oh, okay, I'll go. My favorite memory was the Valentine's Day themed program that we did, and our activity was centered around that, and it was kind of like a competition between we split our members in half and had them kind of go back and forth. So that was a really good memory, and kind of hearing the members after that saying they had a good time. I really just enjoyed that. So
yeah, that's great. Okay, Carter.
My favorite memory is probably one of our events from this last spring where we did a combination of a social but also volunteer philanthropy event. So we had a ton of extra t-shirts from our organization, and we decided to make those t-shirts into tote bags and then also combine it with a canned food drive to collect non-perishable foods for a local food bank, local close to Purdue. My favorite thing about that event is that it just kind of involved all the officers. So we had our volunteer and our philanthropy chairs that they were leading the event from that volunteer aspect, but we also had our social chairs that were leading that effort of having food, making sure the event was fun, playing music, making sure people were collaborating with it. So it's the collaboration among our team of officers, all trying to make it a really fun event was what kind of stood out to me. Wow, that was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Also really great stuff. Yeah. Actually, you touched on this already, so I'm going to segue to it, which is how to best support your general members. I think sometimes as officers, you're hopefully this great team that works together, and you go to meetings, you all sort of know each other, and then you're at a meeting with general members, and it might seem like I don't know, that they're not the general members who come might not feel as much a part of it because they're not an officer. So how do you definitely engage with or just best support your members? So Ashley, since you mentioned that, I'm going to just call on you first to see if you have anything you want to elaborate on.
So I think Ms. Retha Cox, my chapter advisor, does a great job of helping the officers to engage our general members, in the fact that every meeting we have, she pretty much asks everyone to stand up from where they're sitting and to go to someone they don't recognize in the meeting and talk to them, introduce yourselves, find one thing you guys have in common. And it just allows you to be able to connect with someone. And yeah, it's just one of the great ways we do that, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a great icebreaker idea. So what I'm going to do for future questions now is just open up to anyone who wants. So when I see you unmute yourselves, that's you raising your hand to speak. So who else wants to touch on this one? How do you engage your members? Anyone want to share what you do for the general members or involve them?
I can share.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So kind of engaging and supporting our members, I felt like it was just kind of being open to suggestions and feedback and not taking it personally as an e-board. I know that last year, some of our members had an issue with transportation, and we were doing a lot of community service that was off campus. So once our executive board found that or heard about that, we kind of focused on doing community service on campus and finding opportunities other than just drives that we could do to serve other people in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I feel like it's really the action that kind of shows them that you're supporting them and you want them to do well and be involved in ALD.
Wow, what a great example. That's just tangible. We were doing stuff off campus, and like students couldn't get there. That's great. That's really a great way to be responsive to the needs. Yeah. Emma.
I know for us, we struggle a little bit connecting our members because we are such a small school. There's only about 1,600 of us in general at the whole undergraduate level. But I know what happens, at least for the previous e-board and the one currently, like communication, just letting them know that like, hey, we're here to reach out to them. And if they want the ideas that we had from last year, letting them know that, hey, we will provide those ideas. That's really all I got about that.
Anyone else want to touch on that one?
I can add one thing. Along with supporting our general members, I think we do a lot of like career readiness preparation for our members too, supporting them with that. And so having events like we partner with our Center for Career Opportunities at Purdue, we'll have different speakers come and talk about resumes, career fairs, how to find the right career path for you, networking with like past alumni, everything like that. Kind of just to make sure that all of our members are ready to go into the workforce, to land the jobs that they want, and just help guide them in their next direction for after their undergraduate education too. So that's one way that we support our members outside of like that volunteer and like community aspects with that career readiness as well.
Right. Yeah. One thing I always like to mention, and if you've heard this before, I so apologize because I'm a broken record and I say it all the time at conferences and stuff. So if you've already heard it, apologies. But I just think there's this sentence that I always tell people about, and it's this really brief sentence. It's only 6 words, but it can be very powerful, and particularly to this concept of supporting your general members and engaging them and wondering, maybe you might wonder why they don't come to things or why they're not engaged, is the sentence is, people support what they help create. People support what they help create. So the more you can involve them in what their ideas are and talk with them about what they want to do and surveys, and then they're going to be more likely to attend, to help, to be there, to be engaged, and to feel supported and to feel heard. So keep that in mind. Just something I always like to mention. Okay, what is, and I just have a few more questions, so I'm hoping that our participants here have some questions that you might want to ask. So I don't want to dominate and be the only one asking, so please be thinking of questions. What's one thing about being an ALD officer you wish you would have known when you started? What's one thing about being an officer that you wish you had known when you started? And I'm going to look for unmuting to see. I won't call anyone out because I see you thinking. Emma.
One of the things that I wish I would have known, I wish I would have known like an elevator pitch. So like if someone asked me what ALD was, I sort of wish I would have known a little bit more. Another thing I wish I would have known, one, that I was going to be thrown into the position second semester, but no one could have seen that one coming. And not to take everything so seriously when something goes wrong.
Those are great, Emma. Let me just say that, the perseverance that Kim talked a little bit about, that is certainly a big one. So yeah, thanks. Who else?
I would say that I wish I had known that it was more like planning programs and community service is more than just like talking to your e-board and getting the plan set in place with the e-board. It's a lot of communicating with different university departments in order to get a room at the right time, to get programs approved, to do that kind of thing. So it's a lot of like advocating for your members and your executive board to get things done, which is, I think, the part that people don't see, and the part that people don't necessarily know that the president or vice president is doing.
Absolutely. That's great. And Carter, you?
One thing I'll add that I wish I would have known when I was starting is that you don't have to do it alone for your organization, that there are so many different resources and people that are there to help you through the process. So for example, like at Purdue, we have like the student activities and organizations in our business office, which help us with, all sorts of financial things, how we plan events, how we market those events, like going to their office and being able to use them as a resource to help our organization really helped us a lot. And then also like with different community service and philanthropy events, it can be really hard to initiate an event on your own and go through the whole planning process. The one thing we found is that we can partner with other organizations or go to support other organizations' activities and represent ALD there. So kind of just, you don't have to initiate everything on your own. You don't have to do it all alone. You can look for ways that you can partner with other people and use the resources that your university has to still have some really successful events too.
Great idea about partnering with other, your campuses probably have hundreds of other student organizations, including honor societies. There are probably a lot of honor societies that you can partner with. So, yeah. Ashley, anything you want to add? No? Okay. I'm actually going to go back to the previous question because I skipped a part, which is, and in addition to best supporting your general members, how about your advisors? Any advice? There might be some chapters who advisors aren't that involved. There is really a continuum of involvement of an advisor, and some let the students just run everything, and some the advisors are more involved and come to everything. And there's no right or wrong way to advise a chapter. I'm just wondering if you have any advice about working with your chapter advisor, because every chapter has to have one. And so we do have chapter advisors for every chapter. Any thoughts on that? Emma, I saw you unmute, so go ahead.
I was going to say, I know our advisor is very hands-off but the one thing is he will, usually within a few hours, he will get back to an email. So if your advisors are very hands-off, know that they're always there. They might not be the physical person that'll come to every meeting or come to every event, but they are there in the background. They're figuring out like transportation, financial stuff. They're figuring stuff out on their own terms. It's maybe not always sharing it with you.
Good. Yeah, that's good. Good point. Because they're busy. Yeah, especially through the pandemic. A lot changed for them. Their jobs changed. They got more put on the plate. Any other thoughts? You all four of you have really outstanding advisors. I know them all very well. So award-winning, every one of them, really. Actually, they are. Each one of them has won some sort of advisor award. So
I would say for my chapter, our advisor is very, very hands-on. She loves ALD. She's been a part of ALD for years. And so she has so many ideas for us. And it's more so just like making sure it's not her doing it all. Because we definitely, as officers, like it is our responsibility. So we have to make sure to actively be participating and helping her, and not just like kind of letting her do it all. Because it's not her job. And so really we use a lot of email communication with her. She even gives us her phone number to like reach out. So just making sure like not only to just email your advisor, but to like stop by their office, because they're probably in their office all the time, and being like, hey, like, can we do this? What else needs to be done to make sure my event is successful? Yeah.
good. I would say if there's anyone here in the audience who has concerns, that might be a strong word, but if you're, wondering what's going on with your advisor, please reach out. We're in touch with all of them all the time. But if there's anything in particular we can help with regarding the relationship with the advisor, or if it's, any questions about it, let me know. Okay. Oh, Taylor, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add about my advisor. My advisor is wonderful. I think there's a really good balance of being hands-off and hands-on. Like our e-board, we would plan the events, come up with the details, but then I might go to him and say, okay, we're kind of having an issue with this part of this event or this program, and he would have suggestions for us. And we would usually move forward in that way. He was very supportive, came to our events and stuff. And I just really think like he kind of just became like an advisor for me as a student, and not just ALD president as well. So I really enjoyed that. And I think ALD kind of like allowed us to have that relationship.
That's great. Yeah. Good. Okay. I'm just gonna throw one more question out there and then we'll see if anyone else has any, which is what's one piece of advice you would give if somebody was a new officer here? So we might have folks who are brand new to the officer role. It's sort of a month in-ish to the fall semester or term. We might have some students who aren't even officers and they're interested in applying for an officer position. So one piece of advice. I'm going to ask all four of you this one. So Ashley unmuted first, so go ahead.
Yeah, so my biggest piece of advice is to use, I don't know about other schools, but our school has an Outlook, Microsoft kind of deal. And so all our school email goes through Outlook. And I highly, highly, highly recommend using your Outlook calendar. I actually presented at our first member meeting this year on using Outlook calendar. And you could just use it to help microplan everything and collaborate like meetings when your officers can best meet. Highly useful. I highly recommend keeping up with a planner and keeping track of your time.
Awesome, great. Carter.
Awesome. So with my advice for new officers is that when you first come into office, meet with your team and kind of set like your strategic plan for what you want to do with your term in office. So have your clear 6 or 7 goals. This is where our organization is currently at and where do we want to see our organization end up at the end of the year. You can look and reflect on what are our current weaknesses, how is member participation, what's some events that we haven't done before that we want to try to do. So have 6 or 7 key goals that you really want to try to achieve and then lay out your timeline of how you're going to get there. Because you can kind of just start meeting, kind of just talk about things and brainstorm, and then you realize like, oh my gosh, it's halfway this semester and we haven't even done like more than one event already. So it's kind of sitting down, having your 6 or 7 strategic goals that you want and laying out your plan of what you're going to have throughout the entire year or when however long you're in office, I think could be really beneficial, something that I wish we would have done sooner when I was an officer.
Right.
I agree with both Ashley and Carter. I think our school uses Google Calendars, so that's like my go-to. But my other thing would be that like you can't serve your members in your e-board if you're not serving yourself. So that just really means like taking time for yourself, making sure that you're doing well. You're a student, you're a leader, you want to have fun, you're in college. So making sure that you have time to do all of those things and do them well. And then being your like best self for ALD, for your members, for your executive board. And just really making sure like you have that balance in life.
That's great. Wonderful. Emma?
Yeah, I'm gonna go off that. I was gonna say, if you need to take a break, step back, breathe. There will be someone that can pick up whatever you're supposed to do. If you need to take a break, take a nap, go get coffee, do whatever.
Yeah.
If you need a day off, it's okay to not be okay. You just need to figure out how to get back from that. Just
Right.
have open communication with your e-board, your advisor, say, hey, I'm not doing well. Can I have a few days and I'll come back when I'm in a better space? Yeah.
Absolutely. Really great segue from that. Yeah, good. Okay, really great stuff. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna just go over to chat for a second and see, does anyone want to, you could also, well, you know, we got Spotlight set up, so let me just have you do chat. Does anyone want to throw out a question to anyone in particular and or the full panel? Let's give that just a second. So this, while I'm waiting, I'm gonna give everyone just a minute to think of something because we, I do see our next speakers here, so we can segue to that soon. But while folks are thinking, just in case they're typing, this is similar to advice, but let me just ask it anyway. It just was suggested. Is if there, not what advice. If somebody is brand new, like literally just got elected or got elected at the end of the spring, but it really hasn't done anything yet, what's the very first thing? Like this summit is the very first thing they're engaging in as an ALD officer. What are they supposed, what's next? What's the very first thing they should do at 7 p.m. Eastern when this ends? What would be the very first thing you'd say? to do? Carter.
I would say the very first thing I would do in that position is try to reach out to the person that previously had your officer role if you have not already talked to them before. Hear what mistakes they made, what worked well for them. Try to understand where they left off with that position, understand what difference they're trying to make, what they were trying to accomplish, understand like what they did, and kind of just having that communication with that previous officer, I think can help so much, especially when you're starting a brand new role. So if you haven't already, if you're brand new to officer role and you haven't already talked to the officer that previously had that role, go talk to them, reach out, ask your advisor, look through past notes and stuff and go talk to them first.
Great idea. If you don't know who that is, we do. So it'll be in our records. So give us a holler and we'll tell you who it is. Emma, yeah.
I was going to say set up a meeting with your advisor as well, because they can give you the ins and outs. They can tell you what worked for the previous e-board. They can tell you what they want the club to become. They can tell you what type of advisor they are, whether that's going to be someone that shows up to every single event, or if it's just going to be, hey, send me an email if you're doing something, and I'll see if I can get there.
Right. We do have anyone else want to touch on that? We do have a question in chat I could ask. If you have anything to say, let me know. What was the best way that you found to get involved in ALD and on campus in general? What was the best? You could probably all see it in chat too. What was the best way that you found to get involved in ALD? Maybe when you first joined, or yeah. Anyone wanna? Taylor.
Yeah, I can answer. So at A&T, we kind of come in as sophomores, and the next sophomore class is going to be in leadership. So since I was in leadership, I can kind of answer from a perspective of getting others involved, but we just really made sure to use social media as a way to inform members, using GroupMe, and then also like the members are like around your age, so just like talking to the members, being like, hey, we have this event, or we're doing this, and then just kind of like coming to them as a friend, as a peer, and letting them know like what's going on campus so that they can get involved with ALD. But so if you're looking for that as a student, I would say like look to the leadership team, look to social media, maybe even contact the advisor of ALD if y'all don't have like an email list or something.
Mm-hmm. Good. Anything else you want to add? Okay. All right. Anything for the good of the order, as they say, to wrap it up? Any sort of parting words to the officers that are here, student leaders, I should say. Not everyone's an officer. But any last comments you want to add, and then we'll wrap up our panel?
I would say don't be afraid to chase after what you want to see. So if you want to see an event that's not necessarily in your position's view, like don't be afraid to bring it up to the officer board and try to start that event.
Yeah, good. That's great. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you, all four of you. This has been great. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for your involvement, and leaders on your campuses. Thanks for being leaders on your campuses. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being part of the panel today.